Still on the third part, specific data to look for when analyzing major economies. And under our project here, we want to show you what to take into consideration when trading the currency markets. And we want to show you the fundamental indicators that come and influence the currency markets. Now, out of the United States, the last indicator to watch is the pending home sales. And as you can see, 27, no more, no less than 27 indicators. And I picked only the important one, the ones that are let's say, mandatory to watch for when they are being released. I skipped the other indicators, second tier data like capacity utilization, like factory orders and so on and so forth, because they were simply too many. But the United States of America being the most important economy in the world, the biggest economy in the world, so all eyes in the world are headed towards it, and seeing if it is in a recession, if it is heading on the right track, what is happening there, and so on and so forth. Now, pending home sales is an indicator released by the National Association of Realtors and shows the change in the number of homes under contract to be sold, but still awaiting closing transaction, excluding new construction. So it may sound a bit freaky, the name, but let's try to understand it a little bit. So change in the number of homes under contract to be sold, but still awaiting the closing transaction. And this is why it is being called pending. So pending home sales, still awaiting the closing transaction. And this number excludes the new construction. Because of the name of the indicator suggests, pending, these transactions basically never actually happen, at least not yet. And this is why it should be treated with caution, and why this is considered to be a second tier indicator, basically bringing no volatility at all to the markets. However, due to the fact that it refers to the housing industry, if actual is way more different than the current one, then it implies possible same values for the housing indicators, like for other housing indicators, like new home sales, existing home sales, so on and so forth. And it might signal troubles for the industry as a whole. The release date of pending home sales indicator is monthly, about 28 days after the month ends. The release time is 14 GMT during the North American trading session. Like mentioned earlier, it is a second tier data. It shows something that may or may not be sold. Markets usually ignores the data, except for big differences between the actual and the forecast number. Now, if the actual is higher than the forecast number, you are looking at favoring the risk-on environment. If the actual is lower than the forecast number, you are looking at a possible favoring for the risk-off environment. Once again, what is risk-on and risk-off? Under the risk-on movements, equities, euro dollar, Aussie, cable, and Kiwi, they move all higher, only with US dollar, Canadian dollar moving to the downside, as it is inverse correlated with the Australian dollar, US dollar. Under the risk-off environment, equities, euro, cable, Kiwi, Aussie, they all move to the downside, only with the US dollar, Canadian dollar moving to the upside, as it is inverse correlated with the Australian dollar and US dollar. Looking at the 6 month worth of data back in time from February till July 2013 on the horizontal, and the percentage change to the upside. Actually, it's not a percentage change, it is a mistake there. It's not a percentage change. It should be viewed in thousands. So that is 4.5, and then minus 0.5. Yeah, actually there are percentages. Sorry, minus 0.5 as you can see to the downside, then 1.5 to the upside, and so on and so forth. And we cannot have an educated guess based on this data. You cannot see a trend. What is to be seen is that in June we had quite an increase, 6.5%. And for the whole period, it stands out as unique. But it seems to be just an isolated case, as the following month, July, doesn't really show the exact beginning of a trend. With that, with pending home sales, our journey into the United States economy ends. We looked at 27 indicators, so 27 indicators, 27 different indicators, and we started to look from the most important ones, from non-farm payrolls, ADP employment number, unemployment rate, the GDP, the CPI, consumer price index, and these being the most important ones, the first tier data up to the second tier data like pending home sales, factory orders, or personal income and personal spending. What you should be aware of is take into consideration the release time of all these indicators. What can they bring, if they bring volatility to the trading table, if usually the data is shrugged off, and take this into consideration when you're trading binary options, or when you're trading currency markets, or when you're trading binary options based on the asset being the currency market assets. Time to look for the Eurozone, and under the Eurozone we'll have far less indicators than in the United States, something like 11 indicators. We're going to take a look at final manufacturing PMI, final services PMI, the retail sales. We're going to take a look at the GDP, which is the gross domestic product, the German factory orders, and German industrial production. Why German factory orders and not, I don't know, Greece factory orders? Because Germany and France, as a matter of fact, but Germany is the biggest economy in the Eurozone, and what is happening in Germany tends to affect the whole Eurozone. So this is important to be watched. Then we'll take a look at the industrial production for the whole Eurozone, what it means, when it is released, so on and so forth. Then the core CPI, the core consumer price index, signaling inflation, the German ZU, or the ZEW, how the Germans calls it, economic sentiment, the IFO business climate, and of course the all-important unemployment rate. So with the next recording, we'll start with the final manufacturing PMI, and as you can see here in this picture, a beautiful BMW here made in Bavaria in Germany, signaling the final manufacturing PMI. Once again, what are we going to look for on the Eurozone indicators are final manufacturing PMI, services PMI, and retail sales. Basically, these are going to be met on any economy we are going to analyze. GDP, German factory orders, German industrial production, the industrial production for the whole Eurozone, the core CPI, the German ZU, IFO, and of course the unemployment rate. So stay tuned for the next recording. We are going to move on with the final manufacturing PMI on the third part still, but this time on the Eurozone, as you can very well see here. So stay tuned for the next recording, please.